right, welcome into Starting Five here on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick and at Five Reasons Sports. Nice hat. You can get this at fivereasonsports.com, but I'm mostly wearing it because I've been to arenas the last 65 days. Thanks to our producer, Manny Chang. He'll be with you for the duration. We'll get up some of your comments here. Thanks to our sponsors before we start talking about with Miami Heat. All Pro Construction Builders. Check them out at allproconstructionbuilders.com or All Pro Construction Builders on Instagram. All Pro Construction Builders is the place that you want to go to if you need the storm windows. And you need the storm windows. You need the storm windows. You need the storm doors. We know in South Florida, hurricane season is always around the corner. But they also do renovations throughout your house. They can do just about anything that you ask for. They're a fully licensed building contractor. And they service all the counties down here. They're based in Dade, but they service Monroe County and also up here where I live in Broward. So check them out. All Pro Construction Builders. Danny is the guy that you want to reach out to, or his entire team. It's a family business, and they use locally made products as well, American-made products. 305-484-4429. That's 305-484-4429. And Danny, like the rest of you that are watching this, big Miami Heat fan, so you can chop it up with him, and he can make sure that your house doesn't get chopped up or your office or anything like that by one of the storms that come through here during the course of the year. We know the storms would bother the Knicks because apparently the hot weather bothered the Knicks again last night. We should ask Jalen Rose about that, except, of course, ESPN's not going to talk about what happened last night because the Knicks didn't win, so you'll see it in like the sixth block of all of their programming today. But the Miami Heat are up 3-1 in their series against the New York Knicks. I called a win yesterday, called a win the day before. I don't think these were particularly hard things to call. The Heat are better than the Knicks. When Jimmy Butler plays, the Heat are better than the Knicks. It's just that simple. I don't care what the seeds are. It's a little bit like 1999, where the Knicks were a little bit better than the Heat, even though they finished 6 games behind them in the standings. But the Knicks had problems the whole year integrating players, and that Knicks team ended up going all the way to the finals. I don't see how this Knicks team can compete. That's my favorite comment of all time. Take us there. Look at that, Ethan. Take us there. No, I'm sorry. That's Kevin Love's job. All right, a couple things off of last night as we go forward. First thing, like I said, they're just better. They're just better than the Knicks. And, I mean, now as looking back at it, most fans should be like, okay, they just beat a team with Giannis, Holiday, Middleton, and Brook Lopez. So we were supposed to be scared of a group that is Randall, Barrett, Brunson, and Mitchell Robinson. I mean, it's literally Bucks light. Right? Like, I mean, if the Bucks, let's use a scale of 10, right? Let's say the Bucks are at 10. Not that they are, obviously they're out of the playoffs, but let's say all of their players are 10s. Giannis is a 10, right? I mean, the Knicks are 8 or 8.5 at all of those positions compared to the guys that the Bucks have, right? Like, Barrett's not as good as Middleton when he's right. I like Brunson a lot. He's their engine, but he's not Drew Holiday on both ends, particularly the defensive end for sure. Randall and Giannis, let's not even put them in the same room. And Mitchell Robinson is not Brook Lopez. So what were we talking about here exactly? Did they beat Cleveland? It's pretty obvious right now the Cavs were not that good. Or the matchup was just awful, or the lights were too bright for them, which is kind of what Jared Allen admitted. But Mobley and Garland didn't play consistently well in that series. Mobley wasn't aggressive enough. They talk a lot about Mobley the way that Heat fans talk about Bam, or used to talk about Bosh, actually, when there was a negative connotation of Bosh. Now, in retrospect, everybody thinks that everybody down here was always, backing Bosh. But trust me, I was fending off people for 4 years of the Big Three who criticized Chris all the time. The advantage that the Knicks supposedly had in this series, I guess, was their bench. Okay, well, Quickly's out yesterday, and Tibbs decided to play no one. They made a change to the starting lineup. He said after the game, I was in his post-game presser, he said he wanted to get Grimes in the starting lineup over Hart to give them a little bit more spacing, but then Hart gave them nothing off the bench. He played Hartenstein, but he didn't really play anybody else. He played McBride for 4 minutes. Yeah, Stephen A. is going to blame Randall. Well, he's going to blame Randall. He'll blame everything. Honestly, Stephen A. is going to stop talking about it. I would stop talking about it if I was him. Really. I mean, he can't even blame the not training for Mitchell thing because they beat Mitchell's team in 5 games. So they're just not going to talk about it. Heat fans just get used to it. There's going to be no mention of this series. I mean, particularly now that the Lakers on the brink of the conference finals. I mean, you're not getting any Knicks conversation on the four-letter network. Excuse me, Heat conversation, because it was always a Knicks conversation, right? Before that, it was Giannis conversation. So just be prepared for that. Just stay with us. But anyway, so he made a couple changes, right? So he started double teaming Jimmy even more. Okay. And that really didn't work. I thought Jimmy had like a B to B minus game yesterday, and then I look up and his numbers are ridiculous again. But he made a lot of the right reads. I mean, even if you look at the play that I posted, and I talked to Caleb about this afterwards, the Caleb's dunk was another play where Jimmy draws two, brings the defense out, gets the ball to Caleb. Caleb recognized they weren't gonna. They pressed him at the line, which is what they've been doing. But then no second defender was coming, so he's like, okay, I'm going to go. But the adjustments Tibbs made, he doubled Jimmy Moore. He made a starting lineup change, which basically was just deck chairs on the Titanic. I mean, Grimes played reasonably well, but their three core guys had to carry them. They were all kind of efficient. I mean, I hate the way Randall plays. Like, I respect his story. I respect what he's become in New York. But it's all bad shot hunting. Like, we get on guards like Jordan Poole, who probably shouldn't play in that series again, for bad shot hunting. I mean, Klay Thompson was bad shot hunting yesterday. But you don't see a lot of bigs do it. Like, Randall, I don't know. It's like he's trying to find the toughest possible shot. Like, Tyler does a lot of that. But Tyler's really good at that. Like, and he's a guard. I mean, Randall, I don't understand his game sometimes. I made the mistake of going over on Prize Picks with him yesterday because he was at 3.5. He ended up going 3 for 5 from free throw line, which killed my 4-play Prize Pick. Use that code 5, by the way. Get that initial deposit matched up to $100. I always remind myself. Use the code 5. Again, get on there and do this. First thing, they're giving you free money. Okay, I'll get back to my soliloquy here in a second. They're giving you free money. Okay, it's literally free money, and it's legal in every NBA city that's still going except Colorado, which is weird because they make other things legal there. But Prize Picks is legal in the state of Florida. And again, you can play the flex play, the power play. Just make sure you're using that code 5, FIVE. There it is. And again, you can also play NFL futures. You can play MMA. You can play golf, tennis. You could have played F1 this past weekend. You could have played the Canelo fight. I mean, it's all on there. Use the code 5, FIVE, get the initial deposit matched up to $100, and just play the Panthers over on pretty much everything lately, and you'll win. But anyway, getting back to this. So changes that were made, starting lineup switch. I mean, I guess it worked okay, but I mean, Miami got off to a fast start, so I guess it didn't work okay. And then the bench, he's got 3 guards that he could have used to spell quickly, with quickly being out. Okay, he could have used Derrick Rose, who didn't play particularly well this year, but had played well in New York prior to that. And he's had a long history with Derrick, and he keeps bringing Derrick everywhere he goes. I mean, Derrick has kind of become his Udonis Haslem, okay, in the sense of being his locker room guy. And they love what he's done for that locker room in New York. Okay, Derrick's done, apparently, he's been a mentor to the young guys, which is great. But, like, you kind of have him for a situation like this. Like, if he can still play at all, you would have figured he would have played a few minutes yesterday to give Brunson a breather. No. He could have played Fournier, who we know gives Heat fans night terrors, but he seems to hate Evan Fournier, even after they gave him that contract. So he didn't play either. So he played McBride for 4 minutes. Okay, McBride's like a 26% shooter from 3 and like 30% overall over the course of his two seasons. So the Heat just didn't guard him. I mean, if he was going to play McBride, they just weren't going to guard him. And, like, the purpose of McBride is he's a defender, but he really didn't bother anybody. And so he only played for 4 minutes, which meant that Brunson played for 44.5 minutes. I mean, you're asking him to quarterback your offense. You can't really trust Randall not to take a bunch of bad shots. And RJ Barrett, we just don't know from quarter to quarter. I've never seen – he's talented. There's no question. But is he ever going to be a star? Because it seems like it's 1 quarter yes, 1 quarter no, 10 games yes, 10 games no. We talked to someone from the Knicks wall, Ace Pedraza, about this about a month ago. He's all over the place. So I'm trying to look back. This is one of those series that you're looking back on. What were you afraid of? I picked the Heat in 6. Okay, I think it's going to be 5 now. I do. I think they're going to win that game Wednesday night. I and this pivots to the Knicks. I mean, I'm to the Heat. While I don't know what to be afraid of with the Knicks at this stage, there's a lot to be afraid of with the Heat. I mean, they've simplified the game at this point. Okay, there is complete belief in what they're doing, and I didn't see that all year. I mean, I didn't see that all year, but it really is. I mean, all these cliches they're talking about in the locker room, which I know I kind of eye roll about them sometimes too. But this idea of kind of trust the pass, guard your man, help each other, or as CB0 says, lead us, Kevin, take us there. They've made the game really simple. Like they're not. I mean, Jimmy. It's going to be Jimmy. He's going to draw two. When he draws two, he's either going to plow through them or he's going to get off the ball. And if they get off the ball, there's trust right now in these guys making shots. And look, we can harp on Duncan Robinson last night, and I still think Duncan serves a purpose for space. Kyle was trying to be nice after the game, but kind of threw him under the bus where he talked about, well, Duncan missed like 7 shots he usually makes. But if you look at the other role guys, that third quarter to me was the key to that game. And mostly it was the key because the Knicks played out of their minds. That's as well as the Knicks can play. They shot like 75% in that quarter. But every single time they got close, one of the role players on Miami made a shot. Okay, so they got within 3, and I can't remember whose it was that time. I think it might have been Strus. But Strus had 2 threes in that stretch. Love had a 3, and Martin had a 3. So you get in that stretch, as the other team is scoring relentlessly and was on a heater, basically, you have your role guys giving you 12 points on threes to keep you pressed up. And the Knicks never took the lead. And you knew once that happened that they weren't going to beat you because in the fourth quarter, they were gassed. Mitchell Robinson looked gassed like at the start of the game. So he was certainly going to be gassed late. Brunson looked tired to me too. He didn't have the kind of explosion at the end of the game that we've seen him have in the past. Again, because one of the things that helped Brunson all year, and I'm a big Brunson fan, but he had Quickly behind him. So, Brunson, Tibbs, who typically rides his guys into the ground, he played them together some this year, but he could play Brunson 32, 33 minutes, and that would be enough, okay, for him to be able to be fresh and close at the end, kind of like what the Heat did with Jimmy this season. But you can't do that without Quickly, and he didn't want to play any of his other guys. And so what's kind of happened here is you have a team in the Knicks, I think, its overall talent has been overrated. To me, all of their guys, you need to bump them down one spot. Randall's not a number 1 guy. He's at best a number 2 guy. Brunson, on a really good team, would be your second or third guy. He was kind of in the perfect role in Dallas, to be honest. And Barrett, I guess he's a third guy. I guess. But again, he's not that consistent. So and then you look at the coaching situation. I mean, we can talk about circumstances, not circumstances, whatever. That second series they went against each other wasn't really fair because Rose and Deng were hurt. But Tibbs has now won 3 games against Spoelstra in 3 playoff series? 3-11. And one of the wins with Jimmy Butler didn't play, and Miami almost won the game by playing all G League guys. I think that he closed this out Wednesday. And we'll talk about this more. We got 5 on the floor. Greg was on yesterday with the Cast of Thousands with Brian and with who else was he on with Gabe and with our guy Schwartz. I think we had 4 on last night. That's on the channel here. You can check that out. I'm going to do an episode with Alex today, and we'll get you ready for Game 5. But I just think Tony Schwartz. I'm sorry, but I just think that their position right now to close this thing out. I don't sense the kind of spirit from New York. I think they know that the Heat are outplaying them and outcoaching them right now. And that building, MSG, this ferocious animal that Stephen A. talks about, that's going to be a little kitty cat on Wednesday. It is, because they came for a show, and they were expecting, once they got the Heat, they thought, we're going to the conference finals, we're going to see Boston or Philly, we're going to have this interregional rivalry. It's not happening now. They know that. And so I do not think that building is going to have the level of celebrity. It's not going to have the level of buzz, the level of hype. I mean, you as a fan, when you're down 3-1 in a series, you have to have some, and you're home, okay? Because you go to the Panthers series, for instance, They were down 3-1, and they stole a game in Boston, and everybody was like, okay, whatever. Well, they're eventually going to lose this series anyway. I mean, Panther fans, you don't get juiced up. I mean, you thought you were losing that series. You're down 3. You got hammered 11-4 in 2 home games in third and fourth game of that series. You go up to Boston, you're like, okay, well, whatever. I mean, I know Panther fans who were serious Panthers that didn't really even watch that game, and then they were like, okay, they won. We got a game 6 here, and then of course game 6. If you're a Panther fan, you know they came back 1-7-5 and sent the thing back to Boston where they won it in overtime. But it's different when you got a game 5 at home when you're down 3-1, and you just don't think your team can really win the series. I don't think Knicks fans even believe it at this point. I listened to some of the Knicks spaces on my ride home yesterday, and they just know they're being outclassed. They're being outclassed, and they're being outclassed by what is for the Heat a subpar Heat team. I mean, that's kind of sad if you think about it. And I grew up in New York, and people know I grew up a Knicks fan. It's kind of sad that like you're having like your best season in years, and the Heat had a down year, and they're still outclassing you in every way. Did you, as a Heat fan yesterday, I'll leave you guys with this. And thanks to our sponsors, allproconstructionbuilders.com. Prize Picks, make sure that you're signing up for Prize Picks for us. We'll have a Better Edge tournament later today. Sign up for Off the Floor. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. I do agree Heat in 5 at this point. If you did anybody watching that game yesterday believe the Heat were going to lose once you got to the fourth quarter? Did anybody believe that? When you still had Jimmy out there, when you had Kyle playing the way that he was playing, which he was excellent last night again, and you had Bam, who I haven't even mentioned, but really set the tone for that game, was probably the most important player for the Heat yesterday. Did anybody believe they were going to lose to that Knicks team? No. Does anybody really believe they're going to lose Wednesday in New York? The ferocious animal that's the Garden? Mark my words here, okay? If the Heat get ahead in the fourth quarter, you're going to start hearing "Let's Go Heat" chants up there, because I've been there and I've heard them. So the Heat need to finish this thing Wednesday. Don't drag it out. You've got Philly and Boston. They're going 6 at least, and 6 would be on Thursday. If you can close this thing out Wednesday, you're getting at least 1 more day of rest. You may be getting than the other team. You may be getting 3 or 4 more days rest than them, and that series isn't even going to start till the following week. You get Bam the rest he needs. You get Jimmy the rest he needs. And we'll have a conversation about Tyler when the time comes. All right. Thanks to Manny for producing here today. Check out all our content on the channel. We do ask, though, if you like our content, there are certain things you can do to keep us going. Okay. You can support our sponsors. We always appreciate that, especially sponsors like Prize Picks. Use the code 5 FIVE. Also, you can sign up for Off the Floor. That's only $3.05 a month, and it's free the first week, so you got nothing to lose. And we give you additional content there we don't give you on Twitter. We also kind of organize our content for you there, so we tell you when we've got streams up or pods up. It's texted right to your phone, so you'll know. Okay, so check it out. Again, I post it all the time on my Twitter feed at 5 Reasons Sports, or one of my 2 Twitter feeds. So check out Off the Floor, and also join us on Playback from time to time. Check out 5reasonsports.com. We like to think of ourselves as the sports content kings down here in South Florida, so you can help keep us there. Have a good day, everybody.